Hello, everybody. As promised, I am going live with you with a short training on Instagram because I know, well, from asking the question in the group here and also from going out, giving talks recently, talking to other business owners, Instagram is a hot topic. Lots of people want to use it, but not everybody is feeling super confident on how to use it for their business, what it can do for them, the do's and the don'ts, and everything surrounding Instagram, really. I think it's a platform that's hugely popular at the moment, but its popularity has crept up on some people who maybe for ages and ages just thought it was somewhere where you popped your nice photos and didn't really think much more about it. And suddenly we've all had a wake-up call and people are going, yay, Instagram, let's use Instagram for our business. Maybe potted onto there, done a bit, and suddenly thought, yeah, there's more to this than maybe meets the eye, and I need to delve into this a little bit deeper. So that's what we are talking about this morning. Now, I've got some slides, which isn't the way that I normally would do a live, but I wanted to show you a couple of bits, particularly around Instagram stories, and to save the tech hassles of having to try and like hook up my phone and show you my phone screen over Facebook Live. And quite frankly, I can do without tech hassles on top of everything else. I thought I would create some slides and then I can include the photos on those, but also the slides give a more structured approach to actually what I wanted to talk about as regards Instagram this morning anyway. So you can watch the slides. You can't see my gorgeous face, but that's probably no bad thing. So I will whiz through the slides. What I'm doing is I'm not going to show them as a slideshow, because the minute I do that on my screen here, then I can't see any questions that pop up in the sidebar. And I would really like to be able to answer questions as we go along rather than leave them all to the end, because that to me just isn't a kind of natural way of doing things. So I'm going to leave my screen as it is, go through the slides and try and answer any questions that you've got as we go through, because I should still be able to see them pop up on my screen. So without further ado, let's get going, because if anybody joins us a little bit later, they can always catch up by watching the replay, because I'm going to leave that in the group. So I can still see if anything crops up. For me, it's on the right-hand side of my screen. So Instagram, why is everybody going so mad about Instagram? Well, these figures came out only about a month ago, and this is global usage of social media. Okay, it's not necessarily just the UK, but you can see here that we've got Facebook well in the lead as a social media platform that's used across the world. YouTube comes in second place, but to most of us, we wouldn't see YouTube as a social media platform per se. And then these ones in red are messaging apps. So again, they're not the kind of social media platform that we are used to seeing. But after that, we have got Instagram coming in second place as the most used social media platform globally. So, okay, hello, wake up everybody. Instagram is here, it's important, and if it's right for your business in terms of the content that you create and the demographic that's using it, then it could be a really good platform for using for your business. Now, we know that Facebook actually owns Instagram as well, so it's not an entirely standalone social media platform from Facebook, which say Twitter and LinkedIn would be. Zuckerberg has claimed that one as his own, but it still operates very differently from Facebook, even though you can run ads on both platforms. Actually, from within the Facebook ads platform, Instagram still operates quite differently and quite separately from Facebook. It's really, really good for reaching people organically. So with Facebook, as you know, basically, if you've got a Facebook page and you don't want to faff around trying to create content that is going to engage people and encourage people to have long conversations with you, then you're pretty much going to have to pay for ads. Whereas Instagram, you can still reach a lot of people organically. And we know that globally, it's the second most used social media platform in the way that we would define a social media platform generally. So it's really, really good for reaching people. It is great also because images can capture 1,000 words, can't they? An image can say 1,000 words. It's really, really good at demonstrating what you're about in an instant. I would never suggest sharing an image on Instagram without putting some text or copy behind it as well. But people flicking through, people scrolling through Instagram will be able to have a feel of what you're about just by looking at the image. And so for that reason, it's really good for developing brand awareness, and also because you have got that reach in there. It is also a really good social media platform for getting response, for getting engagement. Now, engagement can be a comment or it can be just a like, but we know that actually getting a response on Instagram is pretty easy, which is great, because if someone is responding to you, then they have at least noticed that you're there. You know, you have fired off some neurons in their head. There is some brand awareness going there, even if they just give you a like. It's not so good for sending people to your website, and that's because you can only share links within your profile and not actually on your posts. And this hasn't changed, and it's part of, if you like, the unique selling point of Instagram. It's kept true to its roots, if you like, of being very much a platform that's all around sharing images. And in the beginning, it was largely used by photographers and real creatives. And I love the way actually that it's stuck to its roots there. So it's not, there's been massive pressure from marketers to allow Instagram, to allow marketers to put links in and their Instagram posts, to allow businesses to use Instagram to send people to their web pages directly from the post. And Instagram's resisted that. And I really like that about it. That's not to say that you won't get visitors coming to your website from Instagram, because if you put the link in your profile, if your posts are capturing attention and encouraging people to want to find out more, and they go and visit your bio and they click on the link to find out more, then you will get visitors to your website. And I definitely get visitors to my website from Instagram, but that's not necessarily what it's going to be the greatest at for your business. What it will be about is generating reach, helping you develop that brand awareness, and encouraging people to get to know, like, and trust you, which of course is really important in business. So how can we be successful with Instagram? Well, A, you need to be able to share images or videos, and preferably images that are beautiful. This is how Instagram started out. And I'm not saying you've got to be a professional photographer, but it does rile me when I see businesses just slapping up any old photo because they happen to be on Instagram. Instagram is about sharing beautiful images. So please try and bear that in mind. Maybe crop an image to make it a little bit more engaging. Maybe use one of the filters that's built in on Instagram to make your image appear a little bit more interesting. Maybe add some words to your image, or add a frame or something to make it truly yours. Lots of people will say you need to have something of a brand going on Instagram and you need all your images to follow a certain type of trend that you have established that will really tell your brand story, yes, that's nice, but I would say you don't have to do that in order to get results on Instagram. You know, we're all time poor. I don't want you to be spending hours in some crazy complex editing software to make all your images appear within this brand theme. However, do spare a thought for the people on Instagram who've come there to view beautiful photographs and images. That's what the platform is about. So if you can at least keep that top of mind when you're creating your stuff for Instagram, then your images, your content will be more successful. Please keep consistent with your post. Try and post daily. I know it's not always possible, and I fall off the wagon here sometimes as well with everything else that's going on, but you will get best results if you show up at least daily. Having said that, there are people who follow others on Instagram who, if you post more than daily, are going to find it too much, and the mix of your content in with everybody else's who is maybe only posting daily is just going to become too much if you suddenly post 2 or 3 times a day. Some brands, some businesses do, and their followers love it, but I wouldn't suggest that you aim for that in the first instance. And share a mix of things. Okay, you don't have to just stick to sharing one type of content. We've got different people following you on Instagram, and what they like looking at is going to be different depending on who they are. So what could you post? You can post hints and tips that help people with whatever it is that you help them with in your business. That's great, and that's always going to go down well as a piece of content. You can also share images that show people maybe where you are today. Are you at an event? Are you giving a talk? Are you helping customers in some way, shape or form? Are you putting on an event yourself? You know, showcase who you are as a business, what you get up to day in a beautiful way. Maybe you're at a venue that's got a spectacular view, or the venue itself is beautiful. Let's see an image of that. That's another side to your business that you wouldn't necessarily be thinking of sharing on Facebook, say, or Twitter, although I would advocate that you could share it there as well. But, you know, let's see that. Maybe you drive past a beautiful view on your way to visit a client. We would like to see that. Maybe you are creating a talk and you've got a couple of slides in there. You could share one of the slides, for example, to give us a sneak peek of the talk. Maybe you're developing a product. Maybe we could see an image of the product in its development stages. Maybe you've got a new uniform. Maybe you've got a new member of staff. All these types of things. You've got a new dish on the menu. You've got some beautiful ingredients that you're going to be using today. You've got some new craft materials in that you can't wait to either use yourself to create something to sell or to sell in your shop. Whatever it is, we would love to see those things as an image, but don't always be selling. Obviously, you know that with any social media platform. Don't always be selling. Be thinking of using Instagram to build relationships, to build up your brand, to build awareness of you, but also to build up you as an expert in what it is that you do, and also to show the side of you that is helpful, that is out there, helping clients and customers as much as you can. You can use photos, you can use short videos under a minute, and you can also now use collections of photos that you can swipe through to tell a story. And don't forget, you can also create a collage for yourself. People don't always swipe through collections of images. You can create a collage of images as one image, if you like, that can tell a story within that with numerous apps. So think about also doing that to ring the changes. Hashtags are the thing that trip the most people up, I think. Should we use hashtags on Instagram? Resounding answer is yes. there was a study done late last year by a social media scheduling software, and they were asking the question. They run lots of studies. The name of the software is Agorapulse. They run lots of studies where they test theories out. One of these theories was, do we need to use hashtags on Instagram? Do they actually help our content get seen? Resounding answer was yes. So they compared posting content without hashtags and posting content using hashtags, and they got much better results. To basically, to paraphrase their results, when they posted content using hashtags. So please use hashtags on your posts when sharing them to Instagram. Now, to make your posts a bit more readable and beautiful, you don't have to use hashtags within the actual text that you've got on the post itself, although some people do. And what some people do is they add those hashtags away down. So they will leave lots of lines of space between the actual text that they want to accompany the post and the hashtags that they use. And they'll very often just use 3 dots on each of those lines. Alternatively, you can use hashtags within the first comment of your post. So you put a post up on Instagram and then you add a comment underneath that straight away, and that comment contains all your hashtags. So hashtags are a label that you put on your post. Now, if you are a big brand, what you will use is brand related hashtags very often. So say Pepsi would use hashtag Pepsi, and they might have another couple of hashtags that they use on all their images, maybe, I don't know, hashtag Pepsi Life or hashtag Pepsi to go, whatever it is. And they will probably encourage their followers to use those hashtags in their posts as well, so that they can pick up posts that their followers are sharing and maybe share those on as well. That can create really good engagement. With a big brand, that's a great strategy. Now, you as a small business, if all you do is use hashtags that are related to your business name, that's not going to help anybody find you, because they don't necessarily know your business name. So to help people find your content, what you need to do is think about the hashtags that people would be searching for on Instagram and use those in your content, in either in the text or in the comments. And I add mine in the comments. So hashtags are a label that allow you to be found, because people do go onto Instagram and search for hashtags. So you might think, great, I'm going to use the hashtag InstaLove or Instacats or whatever it is, because I know that that is used on 1 million plus other posts. That's a really popular hashtag to use. Well, that's great. But if you use that hashtag, then the problem is that if somebody searches on Instagram for that hashtag, you might very well come up top of those search results, but you will only be there for a split second, because all of a sudden you're going to be drowned out by all the other people also using that hashtag on their posts. So what you want to do is actually use a mixture of hashtags on your posts, from, say, a few hashtags that are massively popular and used by loads of people and are a really obvious hashtag to use. But then also start to use hashtags on your posts that are less popular. Maybe they are used by hundreds of thousands of people rather than millions of people. And then also use hashtags that are slightly more niche, that are only used by tens of thousands of people. And you can also add in hashtags, if you like, into the mix that are only used by thousands of people, because then if you use that hashtag in to mark up your posts, then the chances are actually that your post will stay top of the search for that term for days, absolute days. That's what happens with my posts, with some of the hashtags that I use. I use hashtag lead attraction, and my posts stay on the discover page, the top discover page there on Instagram for days, if not weeks, because there are very few other people actually using that hashtag. But of course, the flip side of that is not so many people are searching for that hashtag. So to get that balance between popularity and actually being at the top of the discover screen for hashtags, use a mixture of hashtags in your posts. You have up to 30 hashtags that you can use, okay? So you've definitely got room to add a selection of hashtags into your posts. So here we are. When you actually add a hashtag either on your phone or on desktop, Instagram will tend to suggest other hashtags to you, and it will tell you the popularity of those hashtags. So I searched on creative. So here, Instagram told me that, well, if I didn't want to use creative, which is used in millions of posts, I could use Creative Live, which is used in, or had been used at that stage, in 876,000 posts. Or I could use Creative Happy Life, which had only been used on 537,000 posts. So you get my gist here. You can start to get a feel for hashtags that are hugely popular and hashtags that are less popular just by going and typing in some hashtags on Instagram. But which hashtags should you use? Well, if you are a local business, and actually even if you're not, even if you attract clients across the country, it's great to build up relationships locally, and especially if, obviously, if you're sharing a local view or you've got a local venue, then use hashtags that would attract people locally. So I use hashtag Devon, Heaven in Devon, I use hashtag Delightful Devon, I use hashtag Devon Life, sometimes I use hashtag Village Life, sometimes Rural Life, depend if I'm actually specifically talking about Devon, but most of the time I will be talking about my business. So I don't go into talking about Devon very much, because the function and the purpose of my Instagram is actually to attract people who are interested in digital marketing rather than people who are interested in Devon. But it does help to build up relationships with people in Devon. So I will use local hashtags. And if you are a local business, then use these more in your hashtag mix than I do. Also think about creating your own brand specific tag, because people are following hashtags in Instagram now. So you can go to a hashtag, click on it, and actually decide to follow it, which means that you will get content from that hashtag coming up in your newsfeed. Another reason to be using hashtags in your posts, please. So if you've got a brand specific tag, people might just decide to follow that hashtag rather than following you as a business or an individual. Also, have a look at some accounts that are followed by your ideal customers and clients and see whether they're getting good engagement and good responses to their posts. And if they are, have a look and see what hashtags they're using and do a bit of research and see whether those hashtags could also be applied to your content. Also, if you want to be using some massively popular hashtags, also do look, as I've just shown you, at the alternatives that Instagram bring you as an alternative to those massively popular hashtags. Have a delve into some of those and see if they would be appropriate for your posts. And also have a look and see what hashtags your followers actually use. Because if they're using them and they are actually related to your content, then, well, the chances are that they might also be searching against them. But the other side to using Instagram isn't just about putting your stuff out there and hoping that people will respond to that, this sort of blast and pray approach that people use so often on social media platforms, especially Instagram and Twitter. It's actually about going out there and responding to what others share on Instagram. So go and find, for example, local people that it would be really useful to build a relationship with and respond to their content. their followers will see that you've responded and might go and check you out, for example. That's a great way to raise your visibility. But also it helps you to actually build relationships with those people. They might come and check you out. They might then start following you. They might then start seeing that you share really good content and wanting to promote your content to their followers. You know, it's a great way to start building relationships with key people, not necessarily your ideal clients directly, although that can work, but think about influencers. Think about people who have a network themselves of people that could be your perfect clients. And also think about influencers that your followers might follow. Go and check them out and start building relationships with them. Go and comment, and not just, oh yeah, that's great. Go and leave a valuable comment on content that is shared by people that you want to build and or maintain a relationship with. Instagram is brilliant for that. When people maybe have other people posting on their Facebook page, it's more difficult to have people posting on behalf of you on Instagram. It's a little bit easier now that you can actually, on a business Instagram account, you can now schedule content. Hooray! But until now, it's been more difficult to do that. So very often people do still look after their own Instagram account. And another facet of Instagram that I want to run through quickly that a lot of people aren't making use of yet, or maybe aren't even aware that they're there, are Instagram stories. Now, I've got a little screen grab of these in a minute, but they are a great way to actually allow people to get to know the real you, because the content that you share on Instagram stories has a much more one-to-one feel about it. You can really get much more personal on Instagram stories. The idea is not to be polished here. You don't have to share really pretty pictures. You can share whatever you like. You can share your thoughts and your feelings. These disappear after 24 hours. So the idea is here to be a little more raw, a little more real, although you can still use them to share branded content. But people, the brands that are sharing branded content and very professional looking stuff on Instagram stories, I would say it looks nice, but it's not quite going to be encouraging people to build relationships with them as much as sharing real behind the scenes stuff does. Or so I would suggest sharing a mix of, for example, tips and tricks if you want to share those around your business, but try and share them in a real life learning way. Like, today I did a bit of research on this and I found out this, or today I just found this great tool and you might want to use it too, or I was discussing this with a customer and it struck me that it would be useful for you to know as well. That kind of approach works really well on Instagram stories. But don't think you just you put all this effort into sharing content on Instagram stories once and then it goes away. Because two things: Instagram stories are now archived on your phone so that you can go back and use that content again. And of course, if you've created an image or a video, then you can reuse this stuff on another platform. And I do this all the time. I reuse images that I've created on Instagram stories over on Twitter, on Facebook, or you can actually, there are apps there that you can use to string a load of images together and create a video, or actually include videos in that. And you can use and create 15-second videos within Instagram stories. And again, of course, you can reuse those videos. So think about creating content here, not as an added extra that you've got to do every day, but as a way of creating content that's a little bit different maybe from the other stuff that you're creating that could be super engaging, but that you can use elsewhere as well. You can also use Instagram stories to run a contest. You can direct people to your Instagram stories from email, from Twitter, from your main Instagram, from Facebook, from wherever. You can say, come and follow my Instagram stories because I'm going to be announcing a contest there. Come and follow my Instagram stories because I'm going to be letting you get first dibs on this brand new offer that I've got, or this brand new product. So they are a great way of actually getting people engaged and feel one-to-one, up close and personal with you. And once they're there, and once they see that you share interesting, engaging, and quite often funny stuff on Instagram stories, because it's a great way to share when stuff actually goes wrong, then they may very well carry on following you there. And you can start to bring them in by encouraging people to answer questions, for example, because people can respond to your Instagram stories by sending a message, and you can start responding to those. So you can start to build up conversations with people directly and actually build that know, like, and trust really quickly, one-to-one with people, by getting people across to your Instagram stories and encouraging them to take on board your content, and then encouraging them to respond to you and build up the relationship that way. You will probably find that about 5% of your current Instagram followers will watch your Instagram stories if you start creating them. But as I just said, you can really build that number up by encouraging people across there with a reason to come across. So how do you create an Instagram story? Well, here I've got a little picky, a screen grab that shows where Instagram stories sit. So they sit up here at the top of your screen on your phone. You can only access Instagram stories on your phone. And until very recently, that was the only place that you could post on Instagram as well. You create a story by clicking on this camera icon here. But your stories themselves, your story will sit here, and then stories created by other people will sit here at the top of your feed. And you can just scroll across and see stories from anybody that interests you. When you click on this camera icon, don't worry, you won't be sharing anything directly until you hit this white button here. And this white button, if you just tap it, it will take a photo. If you hold it down, there's my cup of coffee, you can create an image of up to 15 seconds. And the idea is that as you go through your day, or as you go through the series of content that you want to share, you build up a story by sharing a number of images or videos that people can then flick through, and your story will build throughout the day, and after 24 hours it will disappear. You will see here that you can have your phone facing towards you or out to the room. You can add filters onto what you're actually recording on your video here. And actually, when you've created your story, there is a little box that pops up here that allows you to add overlays of text. You can add stickers, and you can now add GIFs to your images and your videos as well to add extra depth. So that pops up at the top here when you've actually taken that photo or video to create your story. So you can also use an image or a video from your camera roll, and you access that by clicking here. So yes, you can create images, 15-second videos, you can add stickers, text, GIFs. Oh, you can also use filters. There are a number of filters that you can use on your story. And you can also use Boomerang. And Boomerang lives on its own as an app, but it also lives within Instagram stories. So it allows you to create a looping video that goes right back to the beginning again. So it's a really fun way of showing things in a different light. So say you're pouring a glass of wine, if you did a boomerang, you could get the wine coming out of the bottle and then going back into the bottle and coming out, then going back in. So you can get some really fun effects with Instagram stories, and you can share those elsewhere. So what easier way of creating engaging content than maybe thinking of doing something like that? This is the other side to Instagram stories. We've talked about engaging on Instagram itself, but you can also use Instagram stories as a way to engage one-to-one with other people. So you can respond to their content by sending them a message. And that is a fantastic way to build a relationship really quickly with somebody that matters, somebody that matters to you. It could be a potential ideal client or customer, or it could be that someone that might refer you on, or it could be an influencer, or it could be somebody that runs events that you would love to speak at, for example, or it could just be somebody whose content you absolutely love and you want to let them know that, you know, why not show some love around? So using Instagram stories is a great way to talk to people directly. Those messages will go into their Instagram inbox. So again, they are very likely to be responded to by that person rather than by their VA or personal assistant. So do think about engaging on Instagram stories as well. Social media is evolving slowly from being a one-to-many broadcast way of doing things to a one-to-one way of doing things. And we've seen that, in fact, in that image that I showed right at the beginning, where you saw the one-to-one messaging apps sitting right at the top of the popularity contest when it comes to social media platforms. Things like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Snapchat, they are one-to-one messaging platforms, and they are hugely popular because people are responding to the bad stuff that's going on social media, the fake news, people spamming, people spreading hate, and they would much rather build relationships with people and then take that newfound relationship, if you like, off public and start talking to people one-to-one. So start getting in the mindset actually of using social media in a one-to-one way, because I can see that that is the way that it is moving, and it's obviously important to keep up with the way that people are using these tools and not get left behind. So this is what one of my Instagram stories looked like a couple of weeks ago. So I was sharing the fact that it was flipping cold out when I did the school run, but also the fact that I love where I am. And you will see that the numbers of people that have seen your story will increase throughout the day as more and more people get to see your story and maybe engage with it. Then I let the world know that I've been masterminding with some pretty cool people. I just took a screen grab, and here you can see that I've added some stickers. Here I just added some written text. Here I've added stickers and some typed text. Here I'm letting people know that I create training. So subtle way of letting people know that one of the things that I can do, but also the fact that time disappears so quickly. And again, here I can see the number of people that have seen this story. And here I'm just showing the fact that when I was trying to find photos to put on my daughter's birthday card, it was really, really easy, because I went into the phone and found that she'd shared a shed load of selfies on there that weren't necessarily the most flattering ones. So I'm sharing a bit behind the scenes as well about what's going on for me. And that allows people to feel more drawn to me. Now, I'm not saying that you've got to share photos of your kids, but this other content here was definitely business related, and this is related to the area in which I live, and that's easy enough to do. So do think about adding Instagram stories into the mix. It only takes seconds to create something here. You don't have to think about highly polished. In fact, that is almost defeating the object. Think about raw and real, teaching from daily life, sharing funnies, maybe even having a bit of a rant if that's your style, sharing what irks you, especially if you know that's going to help your ideal clients align with you, because that's what annoys them as well. I think you get the idea. And here's some Instagram stories shared by other people so you can see what they look like. At the bottom, you can see that if I wanted to send a message in response to somebody, I could here very easily. Instagram allows you to create polls on Instagram stories. So again, that's a great way to allow people just to respond to you. So to cement you more in their minds than you might be already. And you can then follow up, as this lady did with a post about, well, if Instagram is making you feel depressed, then actually these are the actions that you could take, which I thought was a lovely move. This is a lady called Amy Schmidhauer Landino, who is an amazing vlogger. And she was sharing live on her Instagram stories the fact that she just hit 90,000 subscribers on her YouTube. Whoa! You know, how fab is that? Talk about building your credibility. And these are little gifts that she added to that video to liven it up. This is a lady called Anne Handley, who is massive in the content marketing world. And so she's showing behind the scenes of what she's up to today, creating video. And like me, she used just some typed text across to let people know what this was about. And here, this is a guy, Brian Solis, who's a big voice in the digital transformation world. He's showing here a video from, he just spends all his time traveling and speaking and sharing some amazing insights. But here, he's actually sharing a bit more personal about him. He's saying, how do I actually keep traveling and on the road the whole time? This is how I do it and why I do it. It's because I'm inspired by you. And so he goes on in the next piece of that story to say, thank you, because I couldn't do this on my own. And I thought that was a lovely touch and a lovely way for people to feel closer to him. So my last slide in this training is just to share with you some tools for image and video creation and editing that you might not have come across yet. One is Easel, and that's an image editing and creating tool. And it has templates for Instagram stories in there if you want to produce more, if you want to produce content in advance, maybe that tells a story that is sharing tips that you want to have coming across as more branded, say, use in the mix of some real life content as well. That's great for that. It has a free element and a paid element. Paid element is really low cost. It's great. Adobe Spark, once again, is free and paid for. And this allows you to create video as well as images. And that's got some nice templates in there. PicMonkey is the one that I started off with, so I've got a great affection for it. Again, it has free and paid for elements. It's an app as well as a web tool, as is Adobe Spark. And I love it because Canva was very overwhelming, I think, for a lot of people, and still is. But PicMonkey provides a really powerful and simple way to edit images, but isn't as overwhelming as Canva. Design Wizard, I love. It's, again, free and paid for, but it provides some really lovely graphics and patterns that you can use as the basis for your own images that you won't find anywhere else. And sometimes, as we all use these tools, we find that, oh, someone else has used the same image or the same template as me. You know, do I really want to actually be sharing my images with another brand? Using something like Design Wizard or Easel or one of these slightly more different tools allows you much more scope. Splice is a little app that I use on my phone that stitches together videos and images to create videos or longer videos. You can mix up videos and images within one video, which is great. But obviously you do want them all to be the same size, else you get a bit of a funny product. And Apple Clips is a great little app, which, as its name would suggest, is only available on iPhone. and it allows you to shoot video and do creative things with it. But one of the things I love most about it is the fact that it will overlay text onto the video as you're speaking. So if you want to create a nice video that you can use that's already got text that comes up when you're speaking, and you can use this anywhere, of course, then Apple Clips could be for you. So that is the end of what I wanted to share with you today on using Instagram for business. I really hope that you have found it helpful. As far as I can make out, I don't have any questions up here, but that is fine. I'm happy with that. If you've got any questions that spring to mind afterwards, then please just post them underneath this live. Or if you watch the replay and you've got questions, then again, please post them under this live and I will come back and I will answer them for you. So I really hope that this has been helpful and that you start using Instagram and getting great results. Over to you now, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.